YouTube, Genius in Exile here. Alright, so I'm feeling a lot better, so here's the long-awaited body soap video. I got some new fragrances, some lavender, excuse me, and some lemon verbena. So I figured I'd make some lavender soap, maybe some lavender lemon soap, and then later on I'll be making a goat's milk honey almond soap. So, in this bucket, I've got the equivalent to make 6 pounds of soap. Once the water dissolves out, it'll be about 5 pounds, but I've got to make sure I allot for the water when I put it in my mold. And I love this mold. I actually got this from a friend of mine. It's got a silicone interior. Look at that. So you don't need to spray it, because those non-stick sprays, they kind of stain the outside of the soap. And why have to do it? Those are some onions. I harvest them. No, they won't be going in the soap. And I have another mold there, which is just a trash bag in a shoebox. For the lemon lavender, but the lavender one is actually going to go into this mold. So what I've done is I've measured out 60 ounces of lard. There it is, in here. You'll notice a difference in oils. This is actually coconut oil. That's 6 ounces of coconut oil, because I use about 10% coconut oil, that's a tongue twister, in my batches. So I have enough to make it really bubbly, but not enough to irritate your skin, because you don't want to have a 100% coconut soap. It's very irritating to the skin. It is actually the only soap that will lather in seawater, but I don't really see a lot of us washing it exclusively in seawater. Maybe later on, I don't know. But instead of giving you the formula, I know a lot of you requested that I give you the recipe, so here's my recipe. And I'll also post it down, and I hope you can read my scribbling. It's 60 ounces of lard, 6 ounces of coconut, 16 ounces of water, and 8.95 ounces of lye. Now for the math part, I always got to be a nerd. The saponification level for lard is 0.138. So since I used 60 ounces of that, I multiplied that by 138, or 0.138, to come up with 8.28. And then for coconut oil, it's 0.190 is the saponification value. I used 6 ounces of that to come up with 1.14 ounces of lye. That equals 9.42 ounces total of lye. I discount at 5% because I always want to make sure I have a little bit of oil, not a little bit of lye, left over when I'm done making my soap. So I subtracted 0.47 to equal 8.95 ounces of lye. For every pound of oil you use, you need 4 ounces of water. That's a real easy one to go by. And that's pretty much how you come up with it. So that's my recipe. I'll also post it down there. Let's see. So I've got everything all measured out. I just have this little cheapy digital scaler. I think this is 10 or 20 bucks at Walmart. It's real nice because you can tare the amount, which is, like, if you have a container you've put on there, you can zero that out so you're not measuring the container along with the rest of your ingredients. It's kind of harder to do. You can do it in ounces and grams, etc. But all I really do, put it on there, tear, or you can actually put on the container and then turn it on, and that tears it out for you. A lot of people have asked about what kind of lye I use. This is what I use. I get it from Ace. It's $5, and it's 100% lye. See how it's there, bright yellow? And that's all I use. I just use regular grocery store coconut oil and the very fancy pig fat. So now that I've made that sound so appetizing, let's get on with the rest of the measurements. Sorry you couldn't see me do this, but really, scooping lard out into a bucket, I didn't really think y'all would find that very educational, and I just took that green spoon and scooped out the coconut oil into the bucket. So there it is. That's what it looks like in all its glory. Now I'm going to measure out 16 ounces of water, which I have to grab, and then I'm going to measure out the 8.95 ounces of lye, and I'll be right back, so I have to get some gloves on. Okay, so I'm going to measure out the lye. 8.95 ounces is what I need, so I'm going to turn this on. And there it goes. Wish me luck. So once you get to the end, you kind of pour it out a little bit. Stop, pour it out a little bit, stop, let it kind of catch up. Okay. 8.8. Sorry, I'm not trying to make y'all dizzy. 8.9. Yay! Okay. Doing this one-handed. Okay. This part will be easier. And you never put your water into your lye, because the lye gets so hot when it hits the water, it will explode on you. Don't be afraid. Just don't do that. If you barbecued, you can make soap. Because if you can control a dangerous element like fire, you can definitely deal with lard. I mean, lye. Well, dealing with lard's dangerous too. Okay. Almost. Hope I'm not making y'all have to go potty. Okay, I went a little bit over, but it's 0.1. I really don't think that's going to be any big deal. So now, I'm going to turn this off. Move my scale over. Okay, then add my lye into my water. Some people say you have to add it in a, steady stream. Ease it in there. I just plop it all in, because I find that the longer you expose your lye to the open air, the more it tends to clump, and the longer it takes to dissolve. And yes, I'm doing this indoors, but I have windows open, and I'm sure you can probably hear the dishwasher. Sorry. I'm washing my soap stuff I used last night. And I just put it in the dishwasher with a bunch of vinegar and put it on pots and pans, cycle, and off it goes. Okay, so that part's done. Now for the left-handed lye pour. Okay, this is where you want to be careful. Don't splash. Go easy. And don't breathe the fumes from the lye. It's a great decongestant. Alright, so let me get a spoon. I'll be right back. Okay, so I got my spoon. I had to get some other stuff I forgot to grab. So I got my stick blender, a couple of spatulas, and I use this equipment only for making soap. Because once you've used it to make soap, you really don't want it to use, to be used for food. Because plastic will definitely absorb some of that lye. So I'm just kind of mushing this down. Now, because I didn't heat up my lard, this will probably go pretty quickly. So instead of using the stick blender right away, I'm just going to use a spoon at first. See if I can get that oil to melt. And be careful not to splash. And before you even begin putting everything together, sorry, I have to move something. You should have your mold ready to go, and kind of like with anything you do, have all of your stuff together. That way you don't have to stop and run off and get it, because sometimes soap will move very quickly, where it goes from this stage to trace very quickly. So I have my scents ready to go, and when I order them, they come with these little plugs in them, and those are a pain to take out when you have gloves on. And yes, you'll notice I only have one glove, or I have no glove on this hand. Switch. That's because my other one got torn up, and I know I should have more. I should be prepared, but this was kind of a spur-of-the-moment thing. And I have another container here that I'm going to use to mix up my colors. I have some purple coloring there and some lavender that I'm going to add in. I don't actually like to add a lot of lavender, into my soap, because it looks kind of like mouse poo-poo. But this I've actually had, oh great, I spilled it. This I've had steeping in olive oil for about the past 6 weeks, so it should be nice and soft, and I'm going to grind it up. And there's just some soap coloring I have. And I like to use white containers a lot of the time when I mix up my color, because I feel like I get a truer color that way. So, alright, this is the point where I need a stick blender. If you'll give me a minute, I'm going to go ahead and get this emulsified, and I'll be right back, okay? I can't do this two-handed. Stick blender, and as you can see, it's already pretty thick. And I've only been doing it for about 20 seconds or so. There's still some lumps, so pardon the noise. Let's see if I can get some of these out. Turn down your speakers now. Okay, so this is already a trace. Sorry, I have to get that all off. So what I'm going to do is pour some of this into the container and see if I can get it colored. And I try to use very little when I put it in the container for coloring, because if you have a lot, then the colorant just kind of gets whipped around. But if you have just a little tiny bit in there, it doesn't have a whole lot of places to hide from the stick blender. So it usually mixes pretty well, and I add a little bit at a time. Just in case it gets a little too robust. On this part I'm going to need 2 hands, so I'll be right back. Okay, so that colorant worked like crap. So that's the other reason why I only add a little bit. It's because if it doesn't quite work out that well or turns a funky color, which has happened, a friend of mine and I were making a batch of soap, and it was supposed to be green, and the color turned out gray. So there we go. This is just the lavender. So I'm going to stir this in. And it's already really, really thick. But it's weird. Some days soap takes forever, and some days it just works really fast, and this smells really, really good. Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm going to add in a little bit of my softened lavender. Ooh, I don't want to add too much. And I'm going to go at this with a stick blender too to see if I can chop those up a little bit. I can't believe that didn't work. That looks terrible. Maybe I'll just smooth it at the bottom, give it some character. Sorry if I keep going out of frame. I'm really trying to do this and show y'all at the same time. Okay, here it gets noisy. Okay, maybe a little bit more lavender. I think I'm going to add a little bit more lavender scent too. I never really measure out how much I use. They say to use 5% of your total oils in fragrance, but I do it till I like the smell. One more time. Alright, time to get this in the mold. Be right back. Okay, so the part where the colorant didn't really break up, I'm just going to smooth that onto the bottom, so it'll be a really thin layer. Little purple dots. It's not going to be real thick, because I think I took out maybe about 1.5 ounces of soap. But I love this mold. You can do things like this. It's got a nice little cover on it, and it insulates it so it'll gel up real nice. But soap's pretty forgiving unless you're trying to make like a soap cake where it's got frosting soap on it, things like that. But mine's pretty simple. This is about as fancy as I get. And sometimes it's not even that fancy, because look how this one worked out for me. Okay, because I want this to stay at the bottom, I'm actually going to wait a little bit before I pour the rest of the soap on top, so that way this is confirmed, so I'll be right back. Okay, here it goes. I'm going to try to diffuse the pressure with the spatula, the way it doesn't just break through and swirl it. Sometimes I like a swirl in a soap. This time I'm not quite feeling it. I just want to make a nice simple lavender soap. Feel like you're watching a tennis match yet? And just even it out. It's best not to plunk your soap on a counter like you would with cake batter, because it might splatter up on you. Now if you want to get the bubbles out, just do this. Just wiggle your spatula around in there and the bubbles will come up. There you go. And when you want to really even it out, just wiggle a little bit. And you're done. Now what you do is you let this rest for 24 hours. It'll gel. If you want to cover it up with blankets, do that. That's even better. And then tomorrow, cut it into bars, and you're good to go. And I'll be back then. Meanwhile, I'm going to make a batch of honey almond soap. Okay, so I made my goat milk honey almond soap. That's that over there. I actually just took the scrapings from the bowl and made little squigglies on top. And I wanted to show you what it looks like when the soap starts to go through its gel phase. See how it starts to get kind of translucent instead of completely opaque right here? That's because it's heating up. That's what really starts that saponification into action. Now, not all soaps will gel. You like it to, but some people actually don't like their soap to gel because they think it makes a creamier looking soap. I let it do what it's going to do. This may gel, this may not. I think I can barely see it starting to gel. Let me see if I can focus. Let's see how it looks a little bit darker in some places. It's definitely getting warmer. It's right there. It's where you can barely see it. I think it's probably easier to see in person than here. But happen to have a little bit extra from another batch. I made lemon lavender. So I just have these little packaging plastics. I can't remember what it was that we bought, but I just use them for little bars. This one is actually a bar mold. It's got the cute little design in there. You can see little bits of lavender in there. See how they kind of look like mouse poop? That's why I don't put a whole lot in there. So, sorry about my speckly arm. I'm still getting over that Stevens Johnson. But they look really pretty. And I love this mold. This thing is so easy. You just take it apart, and I'll show you tomorrow when I can take the mold apart to cut the soap. But it's just some plywood, some notches in it. That's where it has the silicone mold on the inside. It's got these rubber bands that hold it together. So all you do is take this off, take the rubber bands off, and just pull the soap mold apart. So all this is going to stay here. Well, actually, all the soap's going to stay here. Let me get all the rest cleaned up, and I'll see you tomorrow when I cut the soap. Okay, and this is the honey, almond, goat's milk, lavender, that's quite a list, soap I made. Let's see, honey, almond, goat's milk, lavender, onion, beef, potato, just kidding. So it actually lent, or the goat's milk lent a very, very dark color to the bottom, and there was actually just a little bit of residue left in the pot when I made the next batch, the lemon part to go on, or the lavender part to go on top. So I just used that as a faint color. That's what added the creamy color here. Let me see if I can get this cut. I'm going to do that in thirds and go this way. I think that'll make it better because that's too long a bar. Okay, wish me luck. And you always want to go slow when you're cutting your bars. Just push, let the knife do its work. And usually once I get through the initial part, I'll point the nose of the knife down. Get a clean cut. That was not a perfectly clean cut, but hey, what am I going to use to wash it with? Yeah. Okay, one more. I'll slow down a little bit more on this part. It's always that bottom part that seems to crumble a little bit. Okay, let's see if I, oops, was doing a little bit better. But that's pretty. I like it, and I just scraped the top and made little squigglies with what I scraped up. So, let me move these out of the way. And my lavender soap is still in the mold. Still had a little bit longer to go. So that's why I'm doing this one. In thirds. So I'm learning now not to do such gigantic bars, because sometimes you want to move on to a different scent and you're stuck with one for a long time, because homemade soap lasts a heck of a lot longer than store-bought. Of course, store-bought's designed to not last very long. It's creating its own market. So you'll keep coming back for more. Here we go. There's a honey almond lavender goat's milk soap. So I'll get back to you when the lavender's ready to cut. Milk, folks. That's the honey almond lavender goat's milk soap that I made. That's some lemon lavender I made. In case you don't know, I'm kind of a soap addict, so I'll make you whatever excuse I'll have. But this looks pretty good. It hasn't quite been 24 hours, but I felt it was hard enough to get out of the mold. So you'll see a really pretty pattern on it. So I've gotten it out of the mold. It's just in the silicone part now. See if I can get this out. One-handed. Okay, give me a second, I'll get it out. Okay, so I got it out of the mold. All I really had to do was turn it upside down and kind of smush on the bottom. But if you'll remember, I put this kind of speckled part on the bottom. So let me turn it over. Back up to the top. I love this mold because it makes perfectly square bars. So it's a really nice little loaf. I'll see if I can cut you a piece. Be right back. Okay, so I got excited and cut it all up. I ended up with 19 bars of soap. And if you'll remember, put the crumbly stuff on the bottom. You know, it almost reminds me of cheesecake with that crumbly crust, that graham cracker crust. I don't know. See, it's real pretty. It's got a nice little swirl in there, even though I didn't mean to. So it's really neat. And it smells so good. The lavender buds in there actually retain their color. As you can see, some of them are green, some of them are purple. And no, I'm sorry, I didn't film the goat's milk one. That one goes so fast I didn't have time to, and I was kind of flying solo on it. But the lemon lavender, the ones right here, turned out really nicely. But you'll notice that the goat's milk actually lent a nice caramel color. And I made a lighter one on top, but these are actually really beautiful. So there you go, the body soap video you've been asking for. And all I'm going to do is take these and put them on a rack and let them cure for about a month, wrap them up, label them, and off they go. So there you go. Here, I'll show you the goat's milk honey almond soap, and this is my lemon lavender. smells so good. It smells like a lemon lavender cake I had when I was little. But yep. See, there it is. So it didn't take very long. Ingredients were not very expensive, and I have a lot of soap. It took me probably about 2 hours to make all this, just because I was having fun. So give it a try.